celebrate the 30th anniversary of Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation, we are happy to welcome back to the show choreographer Anthony Thomas, who was responsible for creating the iconic moves behind the Rhythm Nation project and world tour. Anthony, we're so excited to have you back on the Kelly Alexander Show.
Thank you, Kelly. Good to talk to you again.
So Janet fans are going to be super happy to hear from you. And, you know, a lot has gone on since we first had you on the Kelly Alexander Show, specifically the big Janet Dancer reunion that went on in October of 2017 at the Hollywood Bowl. So I have to start with that. Can you take us through how you got the news that Janet wanted you and the others to perform with her again, specifically at that concert?
Well, it was an interesting moment. My wife and I, we were at the Grove, and if anyone knows me, I'm a big sweets fan, so we were sitting down having a donut. And she goes, "What time is it?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "Let me see." She goes, "It's okay." So we're having like this race to get to the phones and tell each other what time it was. So just as I pulled my phone out, I looked and I saw that I had a notification, and it had Gil's name on it, and I froze. And she said, "What?" She goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't know." So let me open this thing up. And so anyway, Gil was saying that Janet wanted me to put together the Rhythm Nation performance for the Hollywood Bowl, bringing in, basically her all-star cast, everyone who's been a part of her career at some point, to come out and perform the piece. And so that's how I heard it. And it was we were just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So then Terry texted me and he said, "Hey, can we get together a little bit and start working on this? I want to make sure that, I'm ready." He said, "We only have a few days, and this is Rhythm Nation." So I said, "Sure." So then he texted me back, I don't know, maybe an hour or so later, and he said, "Hey, is it okay if Tina comes too?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then he texted me again, and he said, "Is it okay if we invite a couple more people?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." And next thing I knew, from like just the two of them and three of us, it was like 15 people showed up, and it was amazing. It was so cool, and from the start, it was nothing but love. From the moment we saw each other at the dance studio to finishing our last bow, it was love all the way. You can feel it. People were crying. It was just so emotional and so supportive, and it was such a fun event. And, the Hollywood Bowl is outdoors, but if it had a roof, we blew the roof off that thing.
Amazing. And can you talk to us a little bit about that rehearsal that went on? Because it's funny, Tina had kind of mentioned to me about that rehearsal, and even Cynthia had mentioned it too. And but I hadn't heard the backstory. I didn't know that it started out, it was supposed to be just you and Terry, and then it morphed into this thing. Can you talk to us about what it was like to be in that room? Because from what I understand, from what Tina had mentioned, various different dancers were coming in from the different tours. So it must have been really amazing for you original guys to see what the younger ones were so excited to be a part of it, and to learn from you specifically, because this is your jam.
Yeah, it was so humbling. And like I said to you before, Kelly, I never get tired of hearing the stories of how the choreography and the videos and the songs affected people's lives. And, we were, again, my wife and I, we were just in Hollywood the other day, and we're leaving. We're getting ready to get on an elevator, and this guy runs over to me and goes, "Are you Anthony Thomas?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh my gosh," he said, "I just want to thank you, for what you've done. You have no idea. I wouldn't be a dancer if it wasn't for you." And I'm holding a bag of groceries, and in this moment, this moment is happening, and my wife and I were just smiling, and it's just so touching, and I'm always so humbled by it, and so it was just to be in that room and to have a lot of those dancers basically say the same thing to me as this young man was sharing with me. It was a privilege. And the room, it went from, like I said, from a pre-rehearsal to 15 people to just hanging out and working on things and vibing, to the full official rehearsal when we had all of those dancers. I don't even remember how many of us there were. There was a lot. There was
a lot.
30 or something like that. And so, like I said, it was just buzzing. And to be able to, I mean, even Marty Kadoka came by. He wasn't in it, but he came by to watch this thing.
Wow.
Watch the rehearsal go by. And it was just great, the energy and the focus. I mean, I did have to snap a couple people into hello. You have now entered my dojo, and snap them into shape, into discipline. And we went in. I mean, Allison Falk and Teresa Espinosa, they were very helpful in helping different people. And of course, they would talk to Tina or Terry, myself included, of course, about how certain things went and movements. I mean, so they got a chance to really, really see, for some, Rhythm Nation for the first time. Because they, especially Teresa, when we worked with on the lip sync battle, and so she had an opportunity to see with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. She got a chance to see certain things that she never knew, information in the dance that she never knew before, and it was just mind-blowing. So we had those moments where it was like, whoops, I never knew that was even in there. So we had those moments, but again, everyone was really, really supportive of one another and just pushing and sharing, and it was, I mean, honestly, I say that it was love. You could feel it. It was in the air from the first moment we saw each other, like I said, till the moment we left the Hollywood Bowl. It was just, and that's why I think the fans who saw us perform it with Jen, even she felt it, and it was so powerful. There was a moment where she just there was a drum accent, and she just wow, she just kind of yelled out because it was so strong. And I think that's why the fans and everyone who witnessed that performance was just like, that just slayed everything, and it was powerful. It was powerful. And some of us have stayed in touch since that performance.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome. And can you talk to us a little bit, Anthony, about what it was like on the actual day of the show when you guys were backstage getting ready? Because I'm assuming there was excitement, but also maybe fear/nervousness, especially because I'm sure some of the dancers hadn't danced this in a long time.
Yes. It was all of the above, everything you just said. And, we were so focused. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think except for dinner time, there wasn't a moment where someone wasn't working on the piece with at least two other people, minimum. And, I mean, from being in the green room or outside or near this little area right before you hit the stage, it was, I mean, we were constantly going over the piece over and over and over. I mean, literally from the time we got there and put bags down in the green room to hitting the stage, it was nonstop. And again, it was just, I mean, I can't emphasize it enough because when I talk about it, I can still feel it now. The substance of it was so powerful and so strong. And everyone was just, I got you. I mean, it was truly the funk army of the century.
Nice.
We had each other's back. It was phenomenal.
And Anthony, as someone who's been in the dance community for so long, obviously you've seen a ton of different dancers. You've seen a ton of them, either attempt to do Rhythm Nation or what have you. And I'm just wondering, in your opinion, because you've been around for so long and you've seen the different generations come up, what's the difference between being like a Janet dancer versus everyone else? Because there has to be a difference. It just feels like that to a fan. So I can only imagine what it's like for someone who is in it like yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think here's how I see it. Anyone who does or has performed, like say, if we're speaking about Rhythm Nation in particular, if you learn it from me, what you're going to get is how it was born from the beginning. So I'm going to tell you that there's a message behind it. I'm going to tell you it's not about the dance steps. The dance steps, the choreography of it is really just the visual. It's a visual message, just spoken through dance. And so even when we perform it, once people understand that all you have to do is just strap in, understand what Rhythm Nation is all about, and then go, then you just take the ride on the roller coaster. But when you just learn it outside of, myself or, someone like Terry or Tina, who was a part of the original crew, then it just becomes a dance routine, right? Mm-hmm. And so you don't understand the power that it really, really, truly has. And so you're not going to be concerned about getting every hand gesture or head gesture in the right place, because you're just thinking about, man, I got to kill this thing. But you don't kill Rhythm Nation. If you do, then Rhythm Nation kills you.
Right, yeah.
Because it has and I tell everyone, even the crew, I said, it has a power of its own. All you have to do is understand the message of it. And when you understand the message, then you sit back and you let the music take you, and you let the lyrics take you, and your perspective is totally different. So that would be the difference between, someone who's danced with Janet doing it the true Rhythm Nation way, or someone who's just doing Rhythm Nation as a routine.
Joining us on the show is dancer and choreographer Anthony Thomas, celebrating the 30th anniversary of Rhythm Nation. You can follow Anthony on Instagram at @officialanthonythomas. When did you first lay your eyes on Janet for this, reunion? Because I think you had told me the last time we spoke, it had been a while since you and her had caught up.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reunion of it, again, it was such a surprise, and I know I've tried to stay in contact with her over the years, but having different reps and different people who have worked with her off and on, you get lost in all of that, who's taking care of certain things, who's responsible for certain people being able to get through to her and all of that. So, I've been able to talk to a couple of people off and on. So in regards to having the reunion, making it take place, I mean, that was just, it really feels like just, it was the right time. It was timing. And again, but my wife, she kind of had a feeling, Melissa said, I don't know, I just have a feeling she's going to call you. And I'm like, no, she's not. And then that day, thank goodness for that rich, tasty donut.
Yeah.
It just happened.
That's awesome.
It happened. And so it was great. And then, being able to, we got very short notice on the call, but, Tina and I were contacted about Janet wanting us to attend the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in New York. I live in California. Tina was, as you know, she was on the East Coast at that time, so she was able to attend. So that was, just a very sweet gesture, and I thought very, lovely of Janet to think about us.
And during that October 2017 reunion, were you able to have any moments alone with Janet where you could just catch up for a few minutes? I know there was a lot going on, but did you have a few moments with her?
Oh, we did. We certainly did. It was great. I came through and she put together just a kind of a pre-show reception of all of us dancers. And by the time Terry, Tina, and I arrived, the party was already in full swing, or the gathering was. And then she turned around and she saw Tina and she saw Terry and she saw me, and it was the Janet that I remember, the big eyes and warm smile, and she just hugged me really tight. And then everyone was trying to get to her, and I'm one of those guys that, I'm not going to try to force my way into anything. Even as we were friends, I never thought about, trying to position myself as her next choreographer. I never even thought about that. And so, I just let her have her space and everyone have their space. And then when we were getting ready to leave, that was my moment to catch up with her for a while. And, we just talked about certain things, personal things, and that we were excited. And we both said, look what we did. We did it. And so that was a great moment too. And so, it was fun and just catching up. And then when we hit the stage, rehearsal, you should have seen her at rehearsal. Gil was staging it, but we went out and we hit the routine, and she was just like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was so great. She was so taken by surprise. It moved her so much. And then during some of the rehearsal runs, we would, laugh about certain things, and it was just like old times. And then we came and rocked the show that night. I'm a little upset, though. There's something I'm still a little salty about. So Gil says, okay, so when Janet, she introduces you, just go out, have your moment with her, have your moment with the audience, and then that's it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like the second person that they call. I think Tina was first because they were doing it chronologically. So Control was first, and which I was still a part of Control anyway, because I did, with Paula. And then she calls me, and then I just hug her and bow to the audience. And then Teresa goes out there, and she starts dancing. And then everybody starts dancing. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. If I knew this was going to turn into solo time, I would have lit the place up for some people. So I'm like, can we get a do-over?
Yeah.
That band was funky. I'm like, man.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it's true. Now that I think about it, the first batch of people didn't dance, and then that's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
We should have a chit-chat with Janet and make this happen again.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you too, Anthony, and I asked this of Tina, but I want your opinion as well, because, you work with Janet, like you said, during Control, and obviously Rhythm Nation was so much a part of your life. Do you find now that all these years later, and now that she's in her 50s and she has nothing left to prove, even though I think she still is doing things, but she for the rest of the planet doesn't need to prove anything. Do you find that she's actually able to enjoy the success of Rhythm Nation, for example, in this instance, like where she can look back and reflect? Because I feel like before she always had so many things on her plate where it was like she was super in the moment and needed to get stuff done. But I almost feel now that there's a bit of like amazing nostalgia in her eyes. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. And for a while, she never addressed it. I mean, when we got to the 25-year anniversary 5 years ago, I don't think she even posted anything. Maybe thank you. That if that, but no. I mean, she never addressed. And all the fans would, they would highlight it and talk about it, but she never did. So I think. And who knows, maybe by us performing at the Hollywood Bowl and feeling that, it could have activated, that nostalgia and activated just the power that it still has. And so I think that now, especially since she, when she did the Metamorphosis show, and including the RN30, and I was talking to someone, and they said, well, I don't think she's going to, even really mention it. I said, trust me, she will this time. I said, I know it. I can feel it. And so when the announcement came out, and part of that advertisement was a special Rhythm Nation 30th anniversary tribute, I said, see, I knew it. You could not let this one go by. Plus, it was brewing. It was, with the fans on Instagram and Twitter, even though I don't have Twitter anymore, but Instagram and Facebook, they were saying, the fans were calling for it. And especially with the involvement with the Jan fan movement, you could see that it was starting to swell. So, I wasn't surprised, but I hope that she's enjoying it. I see some things on some of the posts on Instagram, and it seems like she's enjoying it, and she deserves to. It was something that none of us imagined would still be gaining more followers and fans after nearly 30 years now. And it's mind-boggling.
When you were on stage, I wanted to ask you this because, again, you were the choreographer of Rhythm Nation and the Rhythm Nation tour. When you saw all these dancers from all the generations, plus your girl Janet doing her thing and doing Rhythm Nation, what was it like for you, Anthony? Because I can only imagine you must have been on like sensory overload because it's Janet's, but it's yours too. And you and the original OGs are like responsible for, I think, the trickle down effect and the family that you guys have all become.
Yeah, it brought me to tears.
Okay.
It really did. We were in the dressing room, and everybody, we were all holding hands, and we were getting ready to go. And I started, and they're pointing to me, and they're like, hyping me up. Go ahead, what do you say something? Give us that talk. Let's go. You're the captain. And as soon as I started to open my mouth, I could feel the tears just well up. And then I could not speak. I could not speak. And Travis said, don't do it. and I mean, the little bit of words that I finally got out, and when I looked up, because I looked up, and there were people just crying already. They were already in tears. And it was just, like I was saying, it was just so thick and so strong. And but I was deeply, deeply touched. And the amount of dancers, I mean, they said, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And it was just, I mean, to feel that and to hear that. I mean, like I said in our first interview, I mean, I didn't want to fail my friend. I didn't want to be the guy that went, oh, man,
yep.
Control was killing it. What happened to Rhythm Nation? I didn't want to be that dude, And so to be able to be a part of this and to experience this it's beyond comprehension. And I know that once the actual date drops and people start, people are already sending me DMs and pictures and well wishes, like I said before. And so I can't really imagine. Well, let me rephrase that. If it's anything like the 25-year anniversary, which they just flooded me, then I'm just basically going to put my phone on silence and just let the day pass, because I'm not going to be able to answer everybody.
Oh, my goodness.
Because 25-year was crazy. I mean, from 9:30 a.m. till 10-something p.m., I was answering people from all around the world all day.
Wow.
And I loved it. It just absolutely floored me with emotions, and my head hurt so much because I was crying all day.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. And I wanted to bring this up because I know that not everybody was able to be at the reunion for scheduling reasons or what have you. I think Jimmy Locust wasn't able to be there, and Shawnette and a few other people. But from the original OGs, I know that like Art Palmer obviously couldn't be there because he's passed away. Was his absence felt? And let's say even the people who are still alive, like Jimmy and Karen, who couldn't have been there that night.
Mm-hmm. We missed. I know that Art was missed, and other dancers too, but especially him. He brought so much energy to the team, and when you look at those old clips and you see him, dancing, his smile was so infectious. I mean, that was Art. That was no acting job. That was who he was on and off the court,
Mm-hmm.
And he brought so much love and so much inspiration, to the group and to me, on the tour. There were times when my energy was really down there, just low, and and you're like, let's go get something to eat. He was like, he was electric. And but we did, like I said, I missed him for sure, and I know. Shawnette, I told her, I said, I missed you dancing. I miss LaBelle, and so it was great to have the ones who were able to make it from the original team as a part of what we did at the Bowl.
And, when we look back on Rhythm Nation, if you can bring yourself back, Anthony, to the set of the long form video, not to mention just, being on the set of Escapade and Miss You Much and All Right. I get, what are some of your favorite memories if you can bring yourself back to 30 years ago? Like what sticks out to you that you'd love the fans to know about?
Wow. Okay. So when I was in Minneapolis at the studio with Janet, while she was recording the record, Love Will Never, she was laying down the vocal tracks to Love Will Never Do. And Renee and I were we're in the lobby, he's reading something, and I'm just listening. And then, and the TV was on, and I said, I have this idea. And I said, what if, for like this song, it's part black and white, and there's like a bunch of flags and stuff like that. It's like this kind of, I don't know, like some sort of clubhouse or some place where we're hanging out. And Janet's singing, and then when it goes into the second verse, all of a sudden everything comes into color. And he sits up, takes the remote, and turns off the TV and goes, say that again? And then I repeated everything that I just, said. I came up with the idea. He goes, I like that idea. He goes, I'm going to tell Janet. So we didn't use, it's like we used part of it. If you think about it, the Love Will Never Do, how they use all that fabric and stuff in the video. So that was kind of like still there, that original idea that I had. But the whole clubhouse thing, we're now at A&M Records where we shot Miss You Much. And Renee goes, I want to show you something. And so we walk in, and I'm looking at the set. I was like, wow. He goes, well, what do you think? And I said, I love it. And he goes, no, but what do you think? I said, I love it. And he goes, this is your idea. I said, what? He goes, this is your idea. He goes, remember at the studio when we were talking about Love Will Never Do, you came up with that idea? He goes, this is your idea. And I went, oh my gosh. So I don't even know if Janet knows that idea came from me.
Wow.
And
That's
so,
crazy.
and the whole thing with Love Will Never Do, the fabric and the flags and stuff like that, that was still a part of it. But so that really just touched my heart. And then another time was when we were shooting Escapade, and Adam Shankman at that time, he was in the video, and he was the one that was doing all the flips and stuff like that. And of course now he's become a major film director. And but that particular day, I mean, it was so much fun. We're on the back lot of Universal Studios where we shot that, as we did the All Right video as well. And so we're on the set, and I mean, I'm telling you, the weather was perfect. Everything was perfect. We were having so much fun. And so in between takes, I'm walking, and Adam Shankman grabs me and goes, I just want to thank you. And he said, this is so much fun. He said, I told myself that I was getting ready to leave the business. I was going to stop dancing. He said, I saw the audition notice, so I just went, what the heck, I'm just going to do it. Whether I get it or not, it doesn't matter. I'm leaving. He said, I'm telling you, this has brought me back, and I just want to thank you. This brought me back. And I was like, wow. So he would have stopped dancing had it not been for the Escapade video. He would have left the industry.
Wow.
The dance industry.
That's crazy.
And so on that, since Janet and I were having so much fun, she wanted me to be behind the camera this time instead of, being in the video as well. She wanted me to get that experience. And again, just an amazing mentor. And so she said, okay, I want you to be behind it and just watch and call the shots, look at everything, make sure everything is together. So, at the very end where it has that really, it's like that close up and Janet singing into the camera. Yeah. During that take, we were laughing so hard. The two of us, I don't even remember what we were saying, but they had to cut because we kept laughing. She kept laughing, and I'm on the other side of the camera, and we are just busting up. So when you see all that joy and all that, and that smile and that energy, that was because of that moment. I mean, she would have smiled anyway, but that moment was natural and it was real because we were having so much fun. So that's why she's radiating so strongly during that particular shot.
Oh my goodness, I never knew that. Yeah, because she really does look legit happy in that shot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, I have lots and lots and lots and lots.
When you look back, Anthony, on some of those times too, like if you can take yourself back, what was the most challenging video in your mind for Janet to have to shoot, and what was the most fun? I suppose Escapade was probably the most fun for her, the way you're describing it.
Yes, in fact, she told me that was at that time that was the funnest video she'd ever been on. And
the most challenging, was it Rhythm Nation, or was it the Knowledge, or the chair dance for Miss You Much?
Actually, what was the most technically challenging was the All Right video.
Oh,
because,
okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so, but it was technically challenging because there was so many marks that we had to hit during certain passes, the choreography, the way it was staged. Michael Kidd did the staging, and so that wasn't really easy. And yeah, I mean, and just how long it took for certain things to get done. And that was a very technically challenging one. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for you, what was the most fun, or what was the most challenging on that project for you to deal with?
The most challenging was wearing those two-tone shoes at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh my God, it's true.
When it was cold. You know that scene where we're asleep on the bench?
Yeah.
That was shot at like 4 or 5, something like that in the morning.
Oh my God.
And the shoes were a little tight. They weren't worn in yet. And those things were squeezing my feet so badly. And, of course you have to act. But those things were hurting, and it was cold. And so that was one of the most challenging things. But again, we love to have fun. And so the scene where we're on the street cleaner truck, that sprays the water and stuff, we were riding on the back, and then we jump off, and then the guy sprays the water, and we're like, hey, Jonathan, come on, man, all over my Terry Mugler suit. We were laughing so much. We love to laugh, and that was the thing. And so even then, we had to stop. They said, okay, you guys need to stop laughing.
Oh, my God.
But I'm laying down, we're laying on each other, and we're laughing inwardly. So we're still laughing. So it was all on the inside. It was crazy, but that was fun. That was fun. But again, Escapade was the best.
Okay,
it was
cool.
Simply the best.
And when it came time for the tour, Anthony, obviously it's different staging things for a music video versus you guys having to get out there and hit your marks on stage every night. Was that a challenging situation for you to have to, because I believe that was your first world tour, right? So to get all that happening, was that
yes.
Was that just like super stressful on your shoulders?
Yes, it was. In fact, I was supposed to do the full All Right video, but there was so much on my plate, I couldn't. I only did that last section at the very end with Terry, Janet, and I. And so Janet came into rehearsal as we were rehearsing for the tour, and she started talking about All Right, and something must have happened in my face. She just stopped talking. She goes, "You need some help, don't you?" Because she was talking, and she just trailed off. And so it was her reaction off of my reaction. She goes, in her soft little voice, "You need some help, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Please." I said, "Will you ask Terry?" And so there was so much. I mean, I was doing the award shows, overseas, the European tour, the videos, and the tour. I'm trying to put all this stuff together nearly around the same time. And so it was a lot. And we later, as things were happening, Renee, I believe, had asked Tina to come in and do some staging. So she took over that. I mean, I still did some things, but primarily she did it, and Lavelle as well. So, and then, Terry had his places in there too.
Okay.
But Tina really, really headed up the staging part of it. But it was a lot. It was a lot of work. It was intense. And but I think what prepared us was the videos and the European tour. Just how hard we work, and just, my work discipline and my work ethic is so strong that we were already pretty much physically and mentally ready. It was just the amount of things that we had to do, that gave us the most challenge.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you this too. When it came to the award show performances, because I know, for example, a huge reason why I fell in love with Janet was the American Music Awards that year that you guys did in 1990.
Yeah.
And I always loved that performance, but I guess I have two questions for you. What was it like to choreograph stuff for an award show? Because I'm assuming that's also different to get something ready. And then part B of that would be, there was other artists on that stage that night, for example, Paula Abdul. And I know that there was like two camps and maybe even 3 camps. There was the Madonna camp, the Paula camp, and the Janet camp that I would think were probably all cheering for different people. So did you guys feel any competitiveness between the 3 camps, I guess, at that time when it came to female artists?
Well, yeah, you could feel it. I mean, we wanted to be the best. And we wanted to be the best. And Paula was shady. I'm going to tell you, we used to hang out. She was so cool. It was Art, Lavelle, and myself. And we were, Paula, I guess it's, rehearsal. And we walked over and we're like, hey, I'm just, hey, Paula, what's up? We've been, we hung out, all that stuff. And Lavelle goes, Art goes, so what do you think of the performance? And she said, well, I like the lights.
Oh, my God.
And Art's eyes got big, and he looked at me, and Lavelle kind of took a deep breath. And me, I'm not thinking anything. I didn't even catch it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, well, I hope you have a good show. and then Lavelle, Art goes, oh, man. He goes, I'm sorry she said that. So she said what? He goes, you didn't get what she said? I'm like, no, what happened? And he told me, I said, oh, that's jacked up. But, yeah, so anyway, we just wanted to be the best. We wanted to do our best performance. That was my first award show in the United States. I mean, we had gone overseas and done the Diamond Awards and some other things, some other performances. But that was fun. And did I share with you on our first call our first interview, how I came up with that whole opening?
No, I don't think we talked about that.
Okay, so we were at the Arsenio Hall show, and we were waiting for Arsenio to show up because so we had to run through everything with him. And that's when we did the Miss You Much chair routine segment and the chorus. And so we were waiting, and then Renee came over. And at the time, back in the 80s, we had the Walkman, right? So he comes over with the cassette, and he goes, I have the mix for Escapade. Jimmy and Terry put it together. Does you want to hear it? And I'm like, yeah. So he gave it to me, and then I walked away. And 15 minutes later, I came back and said, okay, I have the intro. And he said, what? I said, yeah. He goes, and he looked at Jen and he goes, show it to me. And so I did it. It's like, wow. But it just came. We were in a zone at that particular time.
Okay.
It was just a zone. And so, yeah, that happened in 15 minutes. I did the rest at home, I think, that same evening. And then we started rehearsing.
Wow.
But, and again, I think if I remember correctly, we were just going into tour rehearsals, or we were just finishing All Right. They were close together, so it was one of those two. But yeah, we were gone. It was a freight train moving.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never knew about that intro because honestly, that's like my favorite part of the whole performance was that intro. Intro. I love that intro. That's so, yeah, because I remember the moment it actually came on and I was like, it's like I perked up on the couch. I was 13 and I perked up and I was like, what's going on? So that's super cool to know. And it's actually kind of interesting too that you spoke about the Paula situation because honestly, as a fan, just even with the magazines at the time, like Black Beat magazine and Right On and all that kind of stuff, like I just feel like, not that they were shading anybody, but I think there was a definite, like if you were a Janet fan, you were like a hardcore Janet, like you wanted her to do well. And I always kind of wondered if that translated behind the scenes where it was like almost competitive sport teams, and so.
Right, it sure was. It sure was. And I had heard that at some point for auditions, Madonna did not want Janet dancers auditioning for her.
I think I heard that too, actually. Yeah, that's crazy. And what did it mean to you? Because I'm sure you've seen the Truth or Dare doc that Madonna did at the time, and like there was that whole scene where she kind of shades Janet. Did that just roll off your back, Anthony? Did you even care?
Well, I honestly never even saw it.
Oh, okay.
I never saw it. Yeah. Yeah, I was too busy doing my thing.
Yeah, that's actually what Tina said. Tina said that 5 years ago when I interviewed her. She said that you guys were so in the zone that you were just like you had things to do and you were doing them and you weren't worried about like shady business. So that's That's cool.
Nope.
And I have to ask this for the fans that are listening. What one thing do you want them to know about Janet that they don't see on TV or hear in the music, especially now that you got to catch up with her 2 years ago? Like, obviously, she's the same lovely woman as she was 30 years ago, but is there something you want the fans to know about her, especially maybe because of that reunion in 2017?
I think it's like this. The core of a person is who they are, no matter at some point, whether something is really negatively affected them, or any sort of adversity or getting over or getting through. That person is still that same person, and Janet has been that same person ever since I've known her. So it's like, really, what you see is what you get. I mean, so if you see her as sweet and loving and fun and kind and generous, that's who she is. And she's funny. I mean, she's, like I said, we love to laugh. She is funny. You will zing a good one out there, and you find yourself just straight cracking up. But she's generous, just absolutely generous. So I think that because she's been around for so long, she's been able to, and fans have really been able to see who she is. Just layers and layers and layers, through the years of, this is who I am, this is who I am, this is who I am, this is who I am. And so I'm not sure if they would even be really surprised, because she just puts it out there.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to, because the last time you and I really, again, had a big discussion on the show, she was still on hiatus at that time. She hadn't sort of come back yet, if we can put it like that. She's sort of been taking a few years to herself. But since then, she's put out the album. She's had a baby boy. She's done concert dates all over the planet. Did you expect nothing less from her?
No, I mean, I expected to see Janet come back and just pick up where she left off. I really did. I think, but also being someone who's been around her from the start of her career, dance or music career, in regards to Control all the way up to the Janet Even Velvet Rope records, I saw a certain discipline in her movements and in her focus that sometimes I don't, certain numbers, I don't see that, but I'm not sure if that's her not being in that place where I don't have to prove anything, so, I'm just going to sit in the pocket of this, whereas especially how the music industry was back then, I mean, it was very, very competitive. So maybe she doesn't feel that, I have to compete with somebody kind of energy anymore, and just be her and just be more relaxed with it. So I think that's probably more of the perspective that I see, where I'm coming from, is that she doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. Now she can just go out and relax and enjoy it and just have fun.
And when it comes to Anthony Thomas, where can fans see you? What are you up to these days? Because everybody always loves to know how you're doing and what you're doing.
Well, because it is Rhythm Nation 30, last time I think we spoke, my partner John Featherstone and I, we were working on our show Rise of the Nation, which we're still working on. And, it takes a lot to put together a major musical. And so we've been doing that. And along the way, though, because there is the anniversary, we kind of put Rise on the shelf for the moment. And we're talking about and planning on cooking up something for Rhythm Nation 30 ourselves. So we're still moving on it, still doing it, still believing in its message and its music, and want to bring something for the fans, and as our way of saying thank you for supporting the mission and supporting what Janet and I and the rest of the team, Jimmy, Terry, Renee, what we all put together 30 years ago. So that's what I'm doing.
Cool. And you're going to continue to teach Rhythm Nation, right? Because I know everybody, it just seems like random times of the year, people want that from you. And over the years, they can never let that die, which I don't think they should, especially because you're the master of that project. So I guess that will continue as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Just in fact, we just did something to support the Metamorphosis show, and it was Janet Jackson Day here in Hollywood, and it was filmed, and Tina came out and she taught dance, and then I taught Rhythm Nation, and so there were some clips that I believe you can find on YouTube of us dancing, and there was behind the scenes interview stuff, and it was fun. So we're still doing it. I'm still doing it, and hey, listen, you want some Rhythm Nation? I'm the guy.
Very good. That's awesome.
Don't do your job.
Anthony, thank you so much for doing this. I always appreciate when you make time for me. And on behalf of the fans, again, just thank you so much for everything you did 30 years ago and even before that with Control, and that the fact that you're still doing it, because you're such a great ambassador for Janet. So thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Always fun.
Awesome. That is choreographer and dancer Anthony Thomas celebrating the 30th anniversary of Rhythm Nation. You can follow him on Instagram @officialanthonythomas.